Once again, this is part 4 of my video series, Is Jesus Christ God? Consider God in the totality of the New Testament. We're looking at what the whole New Testament teaches. So call this a systematic study on the person of Jesus Christ. And we see that he's considered the first and the last. Isaiah chapter 44 verses 6, chapter 48 verses 12, Revelations chapter 1 verses 11 and verses 17. He's considered the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Alpha and Omega. Revelations 1:8 and Revelations verses 11. Revelations chapter 2 verses 8 and in chapter 21 verses 6, chapter 22 verses 13. Revelations 22 verse 13. He is unchanging. Hebrews chapter 13 verses 8 and in John chapter 5 verse 58 and in 18 verse 6 with Exodus 3:14 meaning the great I am. He's unchanging. Revelation chapter 1 17 and 18 he's considered the living one in that verse. So as we continue, that's just my fourth video, or basically point E on is Jesus Christ God. So we're looking at some of the attributes. And as we continue, some claim that the death of Jesus on the cross is proof that he could not be God. And this is one of your points, Akeem and other Muslims. If Jesus Christ is God, how can he die upon the cross? Ahmad Deebate said that. See, all your Islamic arguments are not new, man. They're not new. You're just going to regurgitate and throw up the exact same scriptural verses that Ahmad Deebate does, Dawood did, and some other Muslims. Worldwide Videos 1, 2, 3, and then Converted to Islam, he says it too. You guys are regurgitating the exact same thing other people have said, and I could say so am I, but I'm proving my case from the New Testament. So you have to deal with these verses. You can't go to the Quran. And as you said, that how could Jesus Christ be God if he died upon the cross? Let's look at this. Jesus' death on the cross was not due to failure or weakness upon his part. That doesn't do to failure or weakness upon his part when Jesus Christ died. Remember, he's not the Father. God did not cease to exist upon his death. I don't know why Muslims put on their secular mask of naturalism and says that, you know, after we die, there's non-existence. That's what you guys are implying when we say Jesus Christ died on the cross. Well, how can God exist if he's dead? You guys place on a naturalistic mask and, you know, you guys rub elbows with Charles Darwin, even though you guys won't say so. But that is the inevitable conclusion when you say such a thing. God exists upon a plane far greater than us, man. So when we say God died upon the cross, Jesus Christ died upon the cross, we're not saying and he ceased to exist. Death does not mean cease to exist. When I die, my spirit goes with the Father. How do I know? Because I believe in Jesus Christ. So we'll look at that. Because those who say such a thing think that Jesus Christ is not God. Okay, we'll look at that. Remember, Jesus Christ died voluntarily upon the cross in Matthew 26 verses 39 and verse 42, and in Luke chapter 22 verses 42, and in John chapter 10 verses 17 through 18, and in Philippians chapter 2 verses 5 through 9. There's those that will say, well, how can Jesus Christ be willing if he stated that, if it is your will, Father, allow this cup to pass from me? Remember, Jesus Christ exists as fully God and as fully man. As fully man, he felt our pain. He felt our sufferings. He felt our temptation. He was tempted in every way we are. Read the verse. Jesus Christ knows my sufferings, man. This can never be said of Muhammad. Jesus Christ knows my tears. He wipes away my tears. I went today for an MRI. My face is still plagued with multiple sclerosis, and I'm having a flare-up. Jesus Christ understands my pain far greater, and he allows this so I can rely upon him. I have hope in the midst of my pain, and I'm happy and I'm content. I wouldn't want it any other way than to glorify God in my weakness. And as we continue, I'm kind of losing my voice. And that's because it's dry. I was taking medication earlier. It was the will of God. It was the will of God that Jesus Christ should suffer and die. And that's Isaiah chapter 53 verses 10. Because it pleased God to bruise him. It pleased God to bruise his son. Continuing, he even foretold of his own death by crucifixion. This is interesting because you guys believe in the words of Jesus Christ. If Christ says, I'm going to die on the cross and I'm going to resurrect from the dead, why not believe him? Why not believe Jesus? It's one thing to say that Jesus Christ said that he's going to die and raise again, and it never happened, and it was proven. They found his body. Then, you know what? Never happened. I throw in the towel. I throw in the towel because, you know, why follow a man who's a liar? That goes to the one of the points. If Jesus Christ is not God, then he's a liar. God forbid such blasphemy. You guys don't believe Razoo's lie. Neither do I. And it was clear. He foretold of his own death by crucifixion in John chapter 20. No, that's Matthew chapter 20, verse 18, verse 19, chapter 16, verse 21, and in Mark 8:31, 9:31, 10:32 through 34. That's chapter 10, 32 through 34, and in John chapter 2, verses 19, verses 21, verses 22, chapter 12, verses 23, and in verse 24, verse 32, verses 33. Jesus Christ, take off my glasses. Jesus Christ predicted his own crucifixion. He said Christ said he had the power. He had the power to lay down his own life and had the power to take it back again. Jesus Christ says, destroy this temple and in 3 days I will raise it up. I will raise it up. Interesting, right? John chapter 10 verses 17 and verses 18. It was not necessary for him to be defended because he said, for he could call upon his Father, and his Father would send 10 legions of angels to rescue Jesus Christ from the cross and from his persecution and persecutors. Matthew chapter 26 verses 50 through 54. He overcame death by rising again. This is how he validifies, stamps his approval of everything he's ever said. To defeat Christianity is to defeat these verses. If Christ never rose from the dead, we are men of most pity. I'm a man of most pity. Because my hope, my faith, my trust is in the one who's risen. But if he is God, if he is risen, according to these verses which says he is, you're in big trouble, Muslim. And I cry for you. I do cry for you. And I'm a grown man, and I cry. But, you know. Okay, and as we continued, that was that he overcame death by rising from the dead. He conquered death. The resurrection alone should be sufficient evidence enough for you, Akeem. The resurrection alone should be enough. But no, you guys reinterpret it. And you guys make Jesus out to be a liar. You guys make God out to be a liar. God forbid that you guys speak such blasphemy against God. God forbid. We see this, that by him rising from the dead should be sufficient enough. And I'll post a verse. I can't think of the verse upon my head. That's when Jesus Christ says, destroy this temple and in 3 days I will raise it up again. But what's interesting, John comments on this. He says that Jesus Christ was talking about the temple of his body because the Jews misunderstood. He says, this temple was built for 40 years. It took 40 years to build this temple. But yet you're going to destroy it and raise it up in 3 days? They misunderstood. And John comments and says that it's not it's the temple of his body that Jesus Christ is referring to. And let me stop and upload part 5.